And this is the Rudy Giuliani Show. And this is where the Rudy Giuliani Show will be on Monday night, except in addition, first of all, it'll be on Frank's speech. And it'll also, Ted, if I'm not mistaken, be on here.
There's a very strong possibility, yes, but we're encouraging everyone to download the
We're encouraging all of you tonight to download Frank's speech. You can do it. We're going to go over it a few times. I'm even going to have Ted, because I need that, to show you how to do it. But Frank's speech will have on from 7 to 8 every weekday night. Me. Yep, me. And the Biden people are thrilled that I'm going to be on. They were hoping that, well, maybe they still will. I mean, I believe with the bottom of my heart that the reason they've put Steve Bannon in jail starting on Monday is so his voice is not part of the powerful voices for Donald Trump. I would consider Steve in many ways to be maybe the most powerful voice, because there's a certain segment he talks to and understands better than anyone, better than me, maybe not better than the president. The president at the beginning probably had to pick it up, but and I know it pretty well too. But Steve really, he just knows how to talk to the MAGA people. I mean, and he understands them, and he loves them, and they love him, and he knows how to get out all the things. And like me and a few other people, he was through 2020 and knows what to look for. The Trump campaign has done a lot of very good things, but they haven't come up against the cheating machine yet. Well, we have come up against the cheating machine. We have a lot of thoughts about how you deal with it. And to incapacitate us is the only thing they know how to do. Well, we're, of course, you can't possibly, less than 24 hours after last night, not talk about it. When I said in the introduction to last night with Ted and Dr. Maria and a few others that were here, that this was going to be one way or another a historic night, I don't think I knew how historic. I can't say that I expected a Biden knockout. I have thought for 4 years that it was possible. I knew there would come a day, and we're not even there yet, really, when he's not going to be able to talk. The Democrats and anybody else who's out there still fooling themselves about dementia is making a terrible mistake. They're making a terrible mistake for their political party. Much worse, they're making a terrible mistake for our country. Whether you like the man or you don't, and I do not, because I think he is the biggest crook, as far as I know, to ever sit in the White House. I think he has, because of his, not just his dementia, but because of his lack of character, his lack of conscience, and the evil nature of Joseph Biden, people have died in very large numbers that wouldn't be dead if this man were not in the White House. I consider him a horrible father and a vicious, mean grandfather. It's not my role to judge him as a father and a grandfather, but he likes to present himself that way. Just like he likes to present himself as a Catholic who's in favor of killing 7, 8, and 9-month-old babies in the womb, and possibly stretching it out a teeny bit longer should there be an abortion that doesn't work right, like Governor Northam of Virginia. He certainly hasn't spoke out against that. So I am sorry. There are very, very few people I don't have sympathy for. But when you hurt my country the way this man has, and have gotten away with it, and have brought along with you an awful lot of other people you've corrupted, particularly the media, you're a pretty darn evil presence. Well, of course, that didn't all come out last night. But what did come out was he's as bad as I told you, right? I would like to take this as another one we'll put on the board where everyone was saying that I was lying and I was telling the truth. Now, not just me, of course. Everyone like me, whether it was Donald Trump or Steve Bannon or anybody you want to mention that has talked about how mentally ill he is. The first time I really went on record with it was, I believe, in August of 2020 in a podcast that I did, which is still available. Maybe we'll put it out this weekend, Ted. Huh? We'll put it on Confidential. I mean, they can find it all different places, but it'll be easier. They'll just have it right on Confidential. What do you think? Okay, so this is a podcast, two different doctors, and they were looking at Biden back in 2020, and I was talking to a lot of doctors then in preparing President Trump for the debate, because we really wanted to know how he was going to operate. And it's really funny. The 2-minute thing came up immediately, and they may even mention it during the podcast. I'm not sure. I think so. I think one of them does. But here's the thought. There are many symptoms of dementia. The main one, and Alzheimer's, is loss of short-term memory. I think we all kind of know that from our experience. In fact, in some cases, long-term memory can improve and short-term memory disappears. There is a condition, however, which is associated based on the BDM-5 with severe Alzheimer's or dementia, and that is immediate short-term memory loss. Now, what that means is, generally, you would say short-term memory would be, Rudy, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? Okay, that would be the normal progression of dementia. Or maybe what'd you have for breakfast yesterday? I might remember this morning, but not yesterday, or vice versa. But Biden gets lost in the middle of sentences, and he gets lost at about the 2-minute mark. I swear, this is 4 years ago, 2-minute mark. And their advice to Trump was, let him go beyond 2 minutes, and he's going to wander off into Never Neverland. And a couple of times during the debate, last time, 4 years ago, or close to 4 years, I really detected those eyes and that thing going off into Never Neverland. And President Trump, of course, remember, interrupted quite a bit during that debate and saved him a few times, I believe. And a couple of times Welker did, Christian Welker. I think she picked it up. And you might notice that one of the moderators, and we'll show it to you, did it last night, but it was too late. I mean, he stopped what could have been a half hour of idiocy. And they both said that this means not necessarily that he had the most serious dementia at that point, but that this was a very serious case. One doctor said he had moderate beginnings of dementia in 2020. The other doctor said it was considerably more severe and moving quickly. Both of them said it wasn't going to get any better. Both of them said you could get little pauses in it, but eventually, unless he dies, he will get into a situation where he will not know who he is. Are we getting there? Sure looks that way, doesn't it? So what the American people saw last night should not have been a surprise. It's only a surprise because of all of the liars that present information to the American people, from the traitors who allow a man who's unfit for office to function as the president of the United States. I mean, that is as close to treason as you can get. If you see this man functioning like that every day, and you're the Secretary of State or Defense or Attorney General or his wife, and you let him do it, as far as I'm concerned, you're a traitor. It's not a horrible thing to say he's lost it. I mean, he has. He shouldn't be exercising responsibility for this country. So I've got to tell you, last night's debate, I knew he was gone and tweeted it out about halfway through, maybe less than halfway through. Said Democrats can replace him. And you can look on X and you'll see it. And I'm going to tell you why. It didn't matter what he said. And he said a lot of really stupid things. And he mumbled and stumbled and bumbled and blah, 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 blah. When Trump said, I don't understand what he said, but neither does he. I thought that was a very, boom, delivered in a almost Reagan-like way, not the typical, Trump frontal attack. But the really devastating thing about it is the way he looked. You can't spin looks. You can do a lot when you're a crooked, dishonest Democrat to spin words. But boy, about 4 minutes into the debate, that guy looked like a zombie. He looked like people I have seen, not just in nursing homes, but in insane asylums. There were periods of time when you could feel that there was not a functioning brain operating. You could see it. And whether you accept it or not, and it's hard to accept sometimes, impression is the most important part of a debate. Most important thing last night for Trump, it was not to come across like a difficult, angry guy who's going to constantly interrupt and everybody writing about it on both sides said what he had to accomplish, he couldn't do. He had to come across as, somewhat more low key and balanced and professional. And I think the thing ignored here in the terrible devastation of the crack up of Biden is that Trump did exactly what they didn't think he could do. And a couple of times I thought, like Michael Goodwin did, that he was getting close because Biden got really nasty. And he did, but in a different tone of voice than he usually uses, which I attribute to the discipline and the growth that he's had that's been dramatic in the last 4 or 5 months. I mean, he's getting ready. I think I know when it started. I seem to remember, I can't give you the exact time, but I'm with him a fair amount. And I seem to remember a different Trump about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe after the indictment, and then he was getting ahead. And I think he realized at that point that he's going to probably win this, and he's going to have a hell of a job. I think the weight of it is on him in the right way. He understands this is bigger than him, and he debated that way last night. So let's begin by Ted, you organized these, so why don't you take us through them so we get it? So people who maybe didn't see it get a little sense of what we're talking about the disaster and the crack up that took place. Doug Brinkley, who is a presidential historian. And I don't know if he's left wing or right wing or whatever, but he's neither really. He's sort of down the middle. Said, rather matter of factly, it's without any doubt the worst performance in a debate in American history. Because they only go back to Kennedy, Nixon. When they say Nixon lost, people actually thought Nixon won on radio. Well, he would not have won on radio because he sounded just as bad as he looked, and he looked just as bad as he sounded. So let's start
out with just the opening.
Let's get a little review of it, and then we can comment as we go along. And you feel free to give your comments also, because we watched this together. A little startled, I think, at first.
So let's start with just Joe Biden coming out on stage, and I want to remind our audience there is no live audience at this debate. Let's watch.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you a comment here when he finishes.
Okay.
Good to be here. Thank you. Folks, how are you? Good to be here. Thank you.
Well, first of all, at that point, Dr. Maria said, but there's no audience. There probably were a couple of technicians and a few people out there. Who the hell is he waving at? So we don't know what was out there, but immediately you get this sense that he's in Neverland. And he does have an old man's walk. He has a walk that we associate with senility. I don't know how to describe it. He shuffles. Would you say, how would you describe it? I mean, of course, there's always the fear he's going to fall, which has happened more than a few times.
Shuffles a good word. He shuffles.
But he doesn't look secure. He looks like at any moment we could have another Air Force Academy situation or a falling like I've never seen before going up the stairs. I've never seen anyone fall going up the stairs. But I'm sure it's happened, but I mean, I've just never seen it. I've never seen anyone fall in front of all the cadets at the Air Force Academy when he's their commander-in-chief. I mean, that's pretty...
So...
So the little walk out, I didn't notice it as much as the doctor did. And we had four, Ted, myself, Dr. Maria, and two friends watching it, and they all had different observations. And everybody thought when he walked out, he looked rather tentative. He didn't look like he was quite confident, unlike Trump, who walked out like, hey, there's a walk in the park. So let's see the next one.
So next we're going to play. This is we're going to get into the debate here now. This is Joe Biden, and eventually he gets to the point of the question, but it has to do with Medicare. I don't think this is what he meant to say.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I remember this.
To make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
I thought he was, later on, Trump uses, I don't understand what he's saying. I don't know what he was talking about. He beat Medicaid. But it was after that jumble, bumble, stumble, where it sounds like the brain waves are all interfering with each other because of his disease, frankly. This isn't, he wasn't stuttering. This stuttering stuff is nonsense. Stuttering's like that. These are ideas that are getting clogged up in a brain with deficient brain cells. Now, you know I'm going to repeat, if you know me, what I've always said. The guy didn't go into dementia with many brain cells. He was a deficient intellect to start with. Don't count on me. We'll go back and show you later. I mean, this guy never should have been where he is. We were warned by left-wing reporters of 30 years ago that he should be, in fact, they were convinced that he was finished as a thoroughly dishonest, stupid liar. But,
Let's watch. Yeah, this is from 1987.
But do you want to go back and look at that right away before we go on to the yes? Okay, good. Whatever you want.
More explaining to do. The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
And I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Joe Biden was victimized by the truth.
Bye-bye Biden. He may not know it yet, but I think this is going to be very difficult for him to recover.
Is Joe Biden dead meat, yes or no?
I think so.
Bob?
It's in terminal condition.
Terminal. Eleanor?
Yes, unless he comes in third in Iowa.
Morton?
Dying.
I say dead.
Democratic President.
They were warning you. This guy's not up to it. This is 1988. 1988. And here we go sticking him in the most important job in the world, and look all the people he got killed because of that. You know, when those families in from Afghanistan, the Gold Star family say that he had their children killed, he did. No other president would have made the inept decisions that he made. The idea that you're going to take out the soldiers and the military before the civilians that included Americans that were left behind, and Afghanis who were brave enough to fight for us. He double-crossed them. I don't know if you know people in the military, but those who, he dishonored he dishonored that flag behind me by breaking the word of the United States to, when we were in Afghanistan, as anyone who fought there will tell you, there were a good many of the Afghans fought with us, protected us, saved us. We promised them protection. We got them killed. What kind of a human being does that? Is that a product of his dementia? I don't know how demented he was then. It was after those doctors told me he had dementia. It's after you made the terrible mistake of electing him, or maybe you didn't. So it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to put together all of this, but what you saw last night is what I've been seeing almost from the day I started investigating him. A man in which the scope of the crime just kept expanding and expanding and expanding. And the dimension of the wrongdoing, and then the absolute pure evil of the way he and his family conducts themselves. When I got the hard drive in September of 2020, which was late in the campaign, which really just corroborated everything I had put out already a year earlier, for which I had been pummeled, beaten over the head, pursued, accused of the most ridiculous, and investigated for 20 years of my life. When I got the hard drive, it not only corroborated everything I had, it went way beyond what I had. I had the Ukraine thing. I didn't have all of the I had the part of the China thing involving the 1.5 billion investment by the Red Chinese in his unbelievably corrupt financial vehicle, in which he was a partner. Kerry's stepson was a partner. Devin Archer, who's now in prison, was a partner. And Whitey Bulger's nephew, and nobody bothers to report that last part. Oh, and the fifth partner was Red China. Nobody would report it. Oh, man. Just that.
I guess we just played that clip from 1987. So try to remember some of the things you heard in that. I want to play a short clip of CNN fact-checking Biden last night. And I kind of wanted to do this side by side, but let's just play the CNN clip and see if, this reminds you of 1987 at all.
It reminds me of what? I'm sorry.
1987 and what we just saw.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And remember, folks, this is CNN.
In New Hampshire. And the very interesting thing is, and I think it may have been at St. Anselm's College, which is about 4 miles from here. He got unmasked here.
Yeah.
This is where they took him apart, and the guy offered to go have a contest with him, and the guy probably would have beaten the crap out of him. Intellectually, not hard.
Yeah.
He, swear to God, until I knew all about this corruption stuff and whatever. So let's go about 5 years ago. If you asked me, who's the dumbest guy you know in politics? I would have said, no question, he wins it. Biden. Biden is a profound dummy. Well, go ahead.
So we're going to play a portion of the last clip again, and then right after CNN, just to give folks an idea. This man hasn't changed.
More explaining to do. The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually...
He's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he supported, never endorsed him himself. In some of them, he said.
Well, that means he essentially didn't tell the truth at all during the debate. That pretty much covers every single thing he said. Some of them were extraordinary. The one about the Border Patrol was extraordinary. Trump actually mouth open when he said it. Even I think I haven't had a chance. I talked to the president, meaning Trump, 2 hours before the debate. Right after he got off the plane. I saw him get off the plane, and I called him up. And I'm going to tell you what I said to him. I just said to him, "You just be the Donald Trump that I've known for 35 years, and you're going to win this debate. For once, let people know what a good guy you really are," which is true. And sometimes he hides it. He does. Even the charity he did, he often wouldn't want people to know about. The whole thing about, not bragging about it. And awful lot of people can tell you an awful lot of stories about how he helped them at very difficult times in their life. And the thing about it that gets me angry is this racist thing, because I've seen him do that for black people, white people, pink people, yellow people, orange people, like him. Orange, see, I'm wearing orange. And man, I got to tell you, I have never seen him any better. I mean, don't get angry at me, Mr. President, but if you debated like that 4 years ago, this guy wouldn't be president. They couldn't even cheat it to win. Man, he would have. He wasn't. Now, he wouldn't have been as bad 4 years ago, but he'd have been bad. I mean, 4 years ago, he was saying things like he saw Roosevelt, read the comics on television, and Roosevelt was dead for 3 years before there was television, and he never read comics. It was LaGuardia who did. I mean, for a long time. Let's take a look at the thing that I really think. And do we have a place where we can just look at a couple of these? The thing that got me within 4 minutes, and I knew he was going to have this reaction, and the Democrats were going to run out on him because they have to. Is that? Look at that. That's the face of a man without a brain. I mean, you realize you can read a lot into faces, right? Look at that. I mean, he looks like he doesn't know where he is. He seems to be having trouble understanding what Trump is saying. I mean, that's the kind of face that you see, I have seen in nursing homes, and I'm sorry to say, in insane asylums. It just looks like it looks like there is such a thing as looking confused, right? He looks profoundly confused. And I think there are some that are worse than that. All during the debate, I mean, you'd have to go through the whole thing. All during the debate, all of a sudden, you'd lose focus on what was being said by his face. And I'll tell you, CNN, and I can't say they did him a disservice because they usually do it, but CNN didn't do him any favors by having the double screen. If they had just been on Trump when Trump was talking, and on him when he was talking, you would have gotten the word soups and there were about 20 of those, but you wouldn't have seen the complete, utter confusion that he's signaling to you is going on in his brain. If you see a guy like this on a train or something, you'd be likely to go up and try to ask, "Can I help you?" If a guy was walking around like that, "Can I help you?" And you'd expect almost an incoherent response, which is what you got. Shall we take a short break and we'll come back and get a couple of the issues out and then some of the reaction, which was astounding. I have never seen a political party turn so quickly on their candidate. Even when it turned out that McGovern had nominated Senator Eagleton, and Senator Eagleton had shock therapy, they kind of cleanly got rid of him in about 2 days and substituted Sergeant Shriver for him. But I've never seen this reaction. The people who have lied now for 4 or 5 years for him virtually have committed crimes to cover up his crimes are now really there's no mercy. We'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
We're back.
Well, you saw the list that Ted provided before of the large number of lies that he told. The only defense they tried for him, and I tried to listen to CNN and MSNBC, which as Ted knows is hard for me. I used to be on there. I was among one of the few, like you saw Bruce Laval last night. He and I would go on MSNBC and CNN, and we were one of the few Trump people that would do it. So I can go on there, but I just don't like listening to them because they're so stupid and so ridiculous, and they just lie like crazy. But to see them last night beating up on him, wow. I mean, the first one I heard was King and John King, and basically said he's finished. Fini. And then they went, and then one after another. And then they said, but Trump really didn't win the debate because Trump lied. Now, here's the difference between that and what you just saw them do with Biden. This is like what they did to Trump and me when they had the 51 prostitute intelligence agents say, and here's the language they used, that the hard drive has earmarks of Russian disinformation. However, they could not provide as an example a single earmark. Now, I've been at this long enough, both in litigation and politics, to know when you do that, you're lying. When you've got a good case, and you say earmarks of, you usually got 2 or 3 really lollapaloozas, like big ones, like where we said Biden was lying. The Border Patrol endorsed me. Within seconds, the guy running the Border Patrol tweets out, we didn't endorse him. We endorsed Trump, and we would never endorse him. He gets the numbers completely wrong by 100 million, right? Which makes a material difference in what he's talking about. He just makes it up because I don't know if he's always been a liar. So you add on top of that the dementia part. We know he's a liar when you go back, 30 years ago and you hear those reporters tell you he's a liar. The guy is he's beyond a pathological liar. I believe, although, look, I'm never going to prove this and no one is going to care, but I believe he has a mental, his lying is, and everybody, all politicians lie. Yeah, but all politicians don't lie and are mentally ill. He's a mentally ill liar. And the point is, they said that Trump lied. Tell me when and where he lied. I don't know. The reality is, Biden lied that inflation was very high when he took office. He's at times said it was 9%. It was 1.6%. That's a big difference between, and then he blames Trump for the inflation, but the inflation at 9% didn't happen until a year and a half later. I mean, Trump was playing golf then. I mean, the Border Patrol one is, it is absolutely correct that Trump took 2 cognitive tests. The results of the cognitive tests were excellent. And all you have to do is watch him and listen to him. I don't need a cognitive test to figure out that Trump is as sharp as the Donald Trump of 30, 40 years ago. And if he isn't, it isn't noticeable. In fact, whatever he's missing one way, he's made up in wisdom because he's got a very active, engaged, interesting intellect. The other guy's always been, the dumbest guy in class with a chip on his shoulder as a result of it. That's the reason why he does things like when he's a young man, I got a higher IQ than you do. He got stupid last night with the ridiculous handicap thing. Trump almost took the bait and then said, oh, stop acting like a child. I mean, Trump is legitimately, when he was at the top of his game, a 0 handicap player. Right now, he probably is 2 to 4. Now, I know that because my son plays with him all the time, including today. And my son was professional. And depending on how much he plays, he ranges from, 2 below, 3 below. And I've played golf with Donald Trump. So I'm not just telling you this. He is a superb golfer. I don't know if Biden is a 4 handicap or a 3 handicap, he went from 4 to 8 very quickly, didn't he?
He went from 6 to 8.
What did he originally say? He was 6? Yeah, well, see, if it starts going in that direction, you got an idea that the guy's probably lying. I can't imagine he'd be telling the truth about it. He doesn't tell the truth about anything. He doesn't tell. He told you he was supported by the Border Patrol. He doesn't tell you the truth about it. He told you it was 9% inflation when it was 1% inflation. I don't even know I'm not even sure he would remember what his handicap was, or he would know how to compute it.
Right.
So what else do we have, Ted?
Yeah, I'm trying to hit the golf. We have the golf clip somewhere. I have so many.
Well, the golf clip was silly. It was silly.
Yeah.
That was the silliest moment, and I was glad that the real president, he engaged in it for a minute or two. I think he actually was shocked. He was looking at him, saying to himself, "Yeah, you do actually need. Not only do you need some physical ability to play golf, you do have to have like a functioning brain." And it's hard to believe. Maybe before he got dementia, he was a fairly good golfer. But it's hard to believe. I mean, he started walking in the wrong direction. He hit the ball one place, and he'd go walk the other way. Jill would have to go get him. He'd hit it down the fairway. He'd hit the ball down the fairway, and then he'd go like that, like when he goes off the stage. You think he could follow the ball?
Let's play.
Maybe, actually, he might get banged in the head. It might help him.
Okay, so let's play the next clip. This is maybe the clip of the night, and this is the because you'd be in jail moment for Trump of this cycle, right? The Hillary Clinton clip,
yeah,
where he told her you'd be in jail.
Right.
I would compare this to that moment.
Oh, great.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border.
That was great.
Did you know what he said at the end of that sentence? The last three words?
No, I think Trump would
Can
be
we hear it again?
Let's hear it again. We'll play it twice here.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country.
There. That illustrates something at the point that I wanted to make. Biden didn't just lose that debate. Trump won it. And he won it with that. A different Trump at a different time would have been extraordinarily sarcastic about that. Right, Ted?
Big time.
That would have been, little Marco, or how can you be so stupid, or what a dummy, or he would have called him a name. The only guy calling names last night was Angry Joe. Right? Criminal, felon, a whiner. Biden did what they were, what everyone was convinced Trump would do. And Trump handled that. I saw it putting the knife in very, very nicely. That had a sort of Reagan feel to it. And when you go back and listen to it, the worst thing would be if you could figure out what he said. And you think, well, Trump is making it up, but lying like hell. Well, if you can understand that, you're good. Let's do it one more time. Let's see if we can come up with it. We'll get some linguist.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Maybe asylum officers. Maybe.
Asylum officers.
More asylum. That's just what we need is more asylum officers.
Asimov. Sounded like Russian.
You know, he uses the Border Patrol. Not going to help us to have more Border Patrol. They don't stop people. He's not allowed to. They're escorts. The Border Patrol might as well be working at Radio City Music Hall finding you a seat. Oh, you're from China. Well, you come in quick. You only have 4 questions, and you come in quick. Because Biden, and I'm surprised the president didn't hit him with this, but, they may have a second debate. Joe, exactly why did you reduce the questions for vetting China to 4? And do you know what the 4 questions are? Yeah, like Kelly does. We thought he would ask him if he could name any of the poor women who've been killed because of him. I mean, the one time he attempted it, he got Lake and Riley's name wrong, even though he had it written out, called a Lincoln. I mean, it's horrendous, the lack of empathy that he has for the people that are whose lives are being ripped apart based on his policies. I mean, it's tragic. So, we have a note here about him talking like a kid. Was that it right there? That one that almost sounded like a child when he was saying, or you're talking about his handicap.
Yeah. We're looking for that one. We don't have it ready yet. So again, going back, look, every clip, I can't think of one bright spot for Joe Biden, Mayor.
Did he make a point anywhere?
I can't think of any.
What are we missing? Malarkey on migrants, right? That was his answer on migrants was malarkey, but we don't know what he was saying malarkey. I mean, the simple fact is, when Trump left office, the border, we were taking in a little over 400,000 that were apprehended. Last year, he took in 3.5 million that were apprehended. That doesn't count up the gotaways and the never saws and the people he paroled in and the new CBP-1 program that never existed before. So to say that you can look at every one of Trump's years and Biden's from the very beginning is 50 to 60% higher than Trump's worst year. And now he's about 4 times Trump's worst year. He's 4 to 8 times any president's worst year. He set a record the first year he was president for the most illegals coming in. He exceeded the record the second year. He exceeded the record the third year. And even this year, where there might be a slight reduction, it'll be higher than any other president in history. If he uses the formula of 2,500, he'll be higher than any president in history. And he's already blown the formula because he's averaging right now about 3,200 that we know of, which will leave him about 1.8 million. Remember, Trump's last year was 400,000. His worst year was 8. So all of this stuff about the Border Patrol is really completely untrue. Of course, he got into the gutter. Trump did that. They'd be going nuts, talking about Stormy Daniels and having sex with a porn star, and you have the morals of an alley cat. Well, what about the woman that says that Biden sexually assaulted her? Why isn't she as credible as the woman who says that Trump assaulted her in the most crowded department store in Manhattan 2,000 years ago, for which they had to reconstruct the statute of limitations by the Democrats had to in order to get him? Why is that woman entitled to being believed when that woman can't even give the year it happened? She can't give a date that it happened. How do you defend yourself? And you got to be a fool not to know why she can't give a date. She can't give a date because if she did, there's a good chance Trump would have been out of town on that day. He traveled a lot. And she didn't want to get caught in perjury, and she wanted to make money. Then the horrible thing is he claimed that no troops died. My goodness, does he forget? And nobody will forget ever his looking at his watch several times when the people who died because of him in Afghanistan were brought home. The mothers and fathers of those men and women, many of them will never forget it. They'll never forget how cold, how unfeeling, how mean he was to them, particularly in comparing his son's death in the line of duty, which he lied about, to them. They don't count. Those people who died don't count. Those soldiers don't count. My goodness, all the people he left behind in Afghanistan. I mean, 13 is the number we know we can easily quantify, but he's responsible basically for all of them that died in Afghanistan because he did something that this one. I mean, I can't even figure out a motive for this. And the president, meaning President Trump, left out what I consider the biggest crime of all, and that is giving up Bagram Air Base, 400 miles from China, giving China a tremendous strategic break for nothing, getting nothing in return, leaving behind billions of dollars in weaponry, making the Taliban one of the biggest arms merchants for about 2 years, arms that were used to kill our people who we left behind, which is, typical of a Biden-Obama administration, since Obama gave the Iranians the cash to pay the terrorists who killed us back when he was president. These people have no regard for American life. I mean, he's responsible for more deaths than any American president, except presidents who have been, besieged by war. The president's point that Putin would not have invaded under him, President Trump, he said it quickly. I'm not sure if it got through, but it's damn persuasive. He said that Putin attacked under Bush and Putin attacked under Obama and Putin surely attacked under feckless Biden. But he had 4 years to attack under Trump, and he never did, never even came close. I don't know, that puts you in a pretty good position to say that you pretty much had deterred him. I mean, the guy did it twice before you were president and once after, and he only skipped your term. I think you're in a pretty good shape to say you could feel pretty confident that you slowed him down, and then he saw what Biden did in Afghanistan and just jumped all over it. Biden seems to have no awareness of that. I don't think as a person that observes American foreign policy that doesn't realize that he played a big role in convincing Putin to attack Ukraine and the way he handled Afghanistan. He played even a bigger role because Putin, if you went back and analyzed that, as I did and saw it at the time, Putin was testing him, constantly testing him and very carefully listening to the responses. And the responses got weaker and weaker. No troops on the ground. No, you better not do it. No troops on the ground. No troops on no troops on. No. Oh, if it's a small attack, we might not do anything. That was the piece de resistance. That was the giveaway. I mean, you're dealing with no brain and you're dealing with a very big brain. Both evil. And Putin's under no illusion that Biden's a decent man. I mean, he knows everything that happened in Ukraine. He knows about his own crooked oligarch that gave them a lot more than 3.5 million. That's what we caught them for. He knows that his friends in China bought him. Well, he's not under the illusion that he's dealing with some honest human being. The guy's as big a crook as his oligarchs. You take money from Zlochevsky, you like Zlochevsky. Zlochevsky was close to Putin. So when he's dealing with Biden, it's just another crook. To Putin, I mean, Putin's a professional. You think about that. They've got all the records. Now, they don't lie like our press does to themselves. They don't have to. And the president also refrained from saying what I think he wanted to say when he talked about how he and Zelensky are whacking up $200 billion and can't seem to win this war and are not going to win it and don't even tell you they're going to win it. Where did all the money go? That's a lot of money in a country that is known far and wide for being completely corrupt. And there's no one that suggests that Zelensky has done a damn thing about that corruption. He was put in office by one of the biggest and most crooked people, Kolomoisky. He's got all the files on Biden, could bury him if he wanted to. He's got all the files on his predecessor, could bury him too, but he covers it up. Who covers up corruption of that magnitude? Who? Do I need to say it? Well, you figure it out while we take this break, and we'll be right back.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back. And we are now at just about the point where it is 8 o'clock, and this is America's Mayor Live. And we're very happy to welcome you to it. We've just completed 1 hour in which we spent our time pretty much exclusively on the debate, which probably is the most consequential presidential debate ever. I guess the Kennedy-Nixon debate, first one, would fit that category, but it wasn't as definitive as this. I mean, there was still a very close election that took place, and there may still be, who knows, but we'll come back to the debate part, and particularly the Democrat reaction to it, because I don't remember any presidential debate where the reaction of either party was, let's take our guy off the ticket. And all of his main crooked, dishonest press sycophants, pretty much to a person, want him off the ticket. Largely because, I guess if you think about it, he's always been a tool for them, hasn't he? They didn't care how corrupt he was, how dishonest he was, or how much of a traitor he was. He was the guy they thought could beat Trump. Now he looks like the guy that could deliver the presidency to Trump. And man, have they turned on him. But we'll come back to we will come back to that very shortly. But let's cover a couple of other things first. I am very, very upset that the Supreme Court did not grant a stay for Steve Bannon on the issue of whether or not the contempt charge was appropriate. The reason being, well, really several reasons. One, no harm, no foul to give him a stay, because if the Supreme Court affirms the Court of Appeals, he'll go to jail in due time. But what happens if it turns out that he's correct on these legal issues? First of all, it was not a properly constituted committee. The committee really didn't have subpoena power because it didn't have properly appointed members of the opposition. The people that were appointed by McCarthy were rejected. And then Pelosi decided that she'd be the Republican majority leader as well as the speaker and put 2 renegade Republicans on. And the statute for a special committee requires members of the other party appointed by the other party. They weren't appointed by the other party. They were appointed by her, which means it wasn't a bipartisan committee in any sense of the word. It was Democrats, and then the worst of all worlds, renegade Republicans who suffered from extraordinarily severe cases of Trump derangement syndrome. One of them so bad that this male would constantly cry every time he showed up. He obviously needed institutionalization of some kind to help him with the crying, because it was a rather disconcerting thing to see him breaking down crying all the time. And the other one looked like, well, she just ruined a political career, which is probably good because she seems to be a rather disjointed human being. But so that's one problem. The other problem is no one really adjudicated the executive privilege issue. You have a right to have a review of that. I mean, if just to make plenty of people have been in this position that Bannon and Navarro, and nobody put them in prison, including Holder, who did far worse. Well, right now, we've got a legitimate issue, right? We do, us as Americans, about the brain of our president. The point that I'm going to make a little bit later, because we're going to talk about the 25th Amendment, is if the Democrats are seriously talking about removing him as a candidate for president, shouldn't they seriously be talking about removing him as president? If he's unfit to be the candidate of the Democrat Party, why are we taking chances and leaving him with the button? Doesn't the 25th Amendment provide that if you're unfit to be president, your cabinet takes action to have you removed? I mean, this isn't about fraternity here. We're talking about a country. Where's the patriotism of the first stepmother or the Secretary of State who helped to organize the crooked 51 intelligence people? So I guess we can't expect Blinken to act properly. He was involved in the cover-up in the first place. But he is surrounded by a hell of a lot of crook. What about Biden? I mean, about Obama. Obama knows that he's a mental nitwit. I mean, he knew he was a mental nitwit before he got ill. But he likes having him there because he can tell him what to do. I think he's getting worried now, though, that he's going to blow it. He's trying to look around for some other puppet that he can put there. And I think that he'd like to be able to put Kamala there, but they look at the polls, and Kamala does worse than Biden. Up until recently, there are a couple of polls recently where she wasn't doing a little better. He was doing worse, meaning Biden. And after last night, that could change a little. Because it's hard to believe I think she'd have been pretty bad during the debate also. But it's hard to be anybody would be that bad. And at least I don't think there's any suggestion that she's demented. There's something wrong with her, but I don't know what the hell it is. So the 25th Amendment is just completely overlooked here. And if you've got all these people saying he should be removed as a candidate, shouldn't someone have to look at the 25th Amendment? It says whenever the vice president and majority of either the principal officers of the executive department or of such other body as Congress may by law provide transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the duties and powers of his office. Is he unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office? This, aside from just last night's performance, this is a guy who recently went to Cambodia and thought he was in Colombia. Thought he was talking to the president of Colombia when he was talking to the president of Cambodia. Right? This is a guy who thought he saw American Israeli hostage in the audience recently, and the man is a hostage in Gaza. I can go on, right? This is a man who believes that he gave his uncle a long overdue Purple Heart, and he gave it to him because it was brought to his attention by his father at his inauguration as vice president, and he had a ceremony in the White House at which both his father and uncle were present, except both of them were dead at the time, one 5 years and the other 7. He believes he has an uncle who was eaten by cannibals in New Guinea, which created a great stir with the people in New Guinea who say they haven't been cannibals for 200 years in New Guinea, and there's no proof of that at all. His uncle went down in an airplane in the ocean. What else do we have to do? He also, as I said, made decisions like taking out troops before highly vulnerable civilians, getting the highly vulnerable civilians slaughtered, and leaving behind very, very dangerous weapons for the terrorists to use. He's given and either by not enforcing sanctions, relieving sanctions, and just straight out and out payments. He's given billions to the terrorists in Iran. That has obviously resulted in their using it to kill people. There's nobody that really believes he's making these decisions. And honestly, I don't think anyone in good conscience could swear an oath that he's able to discharge the duties and the powers of the office when you watch him. So where's the patriot in the Democrat Party? Is there one? Republicans had him, Barry Goldwater, who went to Nixon and said, you got to go. Barry Gold was an American. Democrats have any Americans left? No, not anybody with guts to do it. I mean, the press seems to have now turned on him. But I don't believe that's for the good of the United States. That's because they hate Trump so much, and they see in essence almost a victory by default with this guy. Who knows? You know, the thing about, maybe they've actually started to read about the disease. Doesn't get any better. It's not going to get better than last night. It could stay the same. He could get 6 months and it stays the same. It could get a little bit worse, or the bottom could drop out. And they got control of a lot, these crooks. And they know how to cheat like nobody else. But they don't have any control over this disease. Yeah. That they've already used all the medicines they can use. Now, obviously, it worked a couple of times. Sure didn't work last night. Whatever they gave him last night, man, oh man, the disease won the battle last night. You know, it may be that Ritalin and everything won the other battles, but this battle, he couldn't. I mean, he couldn't control his facial expressions. And then, I mean, we just showed you one example, but I don't know how many times he got involved in sentences that didn't make any sense or thoughts that didn't make any sense. One lie after another, after another, after another. You don't know, again, if those come from the Joe Biden of 1988, who's consistently lied constantly, or from his being, and like some of the lies are delusional, like the one about giving the father and the uncle medals 5 and 7 years after they were dead. Oh, a medal, by the way, that his uncle never received.
Yeah,
we got a lot of that. What was the thing with the Green Bay Packers that he was he drafted by the Green Bay Packers?
He claims his teacher.
Oh, his teacher was drafted.
Next time it'll be him. Next time he tells the story, it'll be him.
Yeah. Of course, he also went to a black college. No, he didn't. He got arrested in South Africa going to see, I guess, was he going to see the new president, or was he going to see someone in jail? Do you remember what it was? What was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember the sequence of when he got arrested, but he did claim he got arrested in South Africa, and he didn't. He was very, very active in the civil rights movement, but he never was in the South during that period of time, and then has actually at various times said that he wasn't. I don't know. It's very, very discouraging when the facts are so overwhelming like this, and then the American people get snowed. It was very discouraging to have all those facts about what a criminal he is well before you elected him. And you can't imagine how frightening it was to me for my country when you elected him. I know the Biden story better than anyone. I mean, I brought it out originally, believe it or not, in 2019 with witnesses and tape recordings. You can see the tape recordings on my second podcast, my third podcast, my fourth podcast. You want to see Shokin? Nobody else recorded Shokin. I did. I went to Ukraine to do it. I wasn't going to just rely on hearsay or the kind of crap that Shifty Schiff relies on and all those lying sons of you-know-what that are Democrats. This is why they want to destroy me, because nothing's going to stop me. I know he is a major, major crook. And if we don't bring him to justice, this country is going to be consigned to be a banana republic. You can't allow this at the highest levels of government without there being a reaction in both political parties against it, as there was with Watergate. I'm proud of what my party did in Watergate. And I am absolutely disgusted by the reaction of the party of slavery, which seems to have reacquired its roots.
I can't take this as my own, but I heard somewhere that the Democrat Party is having the worst 24 hours since Appomattox. That's great. I knew you'd like that one, Mayor.
How the hell can you keep the name Democrat Party and go around changing all these other names for associations with slavery when the one institution that had the most association with slavery is the thing called the Democrat Party? I don't know. But do we have any of his good friends who turned on him?
We're working on. I'm getting them now. Give me about 5 minutes. We'll have them. Yeah.
Boy, with friends like that, Joe, you don't need enemies, babes. They want you gone. You know, I guess you never realize it's not. I love when they say, We really love Joe. We really love Joe. Yeah, we love. First of all, how can you love him? Even before you knew,
we're playing the best one first.
Before you knew he was the biggest crook ever in the White House. Even before you knew he was a pervert and likes little children touching the hair on his legs. Even before you knew that he's a mean son of a. I mean, look what he and the first stepmother do to Navy Bud, just to protect his sorry ass, right? Why won't they recognize that baby? Because it'll hurt Joe's political career. That's going to hurt Joe's political career. And he pulled all that crap last night with Stormy Daniels and the President Trump's wife being come on, you piece of crap. Come on. I don't get involved in people's personal lives. I was not one of the people who thought Clinton should be. But your personal life, you forced on us. And it's different. It's different. When I look at you smelling the hair of little girls, I'll tell you, you're not getting anywhere near my granddaughter. When you tell me when you tell us, because you're a demented fool who has no filter, the filter's gone. Whatever in the brain is a filter is gone, and you tell us that you like little children touching the hair on your legs. What am I, stupid? I'm going to let you near my child?
No way.
Maybe that's why you don't give a damn about all these immigrants you're allowing in that are raping women. Maybe it doesn't affect you like it affects a normal, decent man. I mean, it's getting to be out of hand, creep. It's getting to be out of hand.
Yeah,
you're not letting it, and don't you and that other idiot Adams, don't give me this. Bring me you're tired and you're poor and you're heavy laden. Yeah, out of the insane asylum, pal. And when Trump said that, he's on a very good historical ground here, and I'm his authority for that because I had to handle it. I got appointed in 1981 as the Associate Attorney General of the United States, and one of my biggest responsibilities was to handle what Carter did to us with Marielitos and Haitians, and turned Miami into a crime zone. Yeah, people getting their heads chopped off by these animals that the communist Castro put in the middle of decent people that he sent over from Cuba, except there were 25,000 of them and 100,000 decent people. And the animals did incredibly awful things. It was so bad, it got Bill Clinton defeated in Arkansas because Carter decided to put them in detention centers in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, and in Arkansas. And I know this story because Dick Thornburg was the governor, and his chief of staff was my best friend, since deceased, wonderful federal judge named Jay Waldman. So Carter didn't, after a while, stop letting them out because they were destroying Miami. It went from a quiet little resort town to a crime capital in weeks. So we took Indiantown Gap in Pennsylvania, and I've forgotten the one in Arkansas, but it was right near. It was close enough to Little Rock. So when they escaped, they made their way into Little Rock and raped people in Little Rock. And this was Clinton's first term as governor of Arkansas. He had been attorney general, and he and Hillary were, they're probably making good money at that point, where she was with the law firm selling out things here and there. You want to go to Arkansas and hear about what crooks, what cheap little trailer trash crooks they were. You be my guest. But he was getting a really bad reputation because his president, Southern president, moderate more or less, they always lie about that. The crime was unbelievable. So in Thornburg's case, he could blame it on the Democrat president, but so Clinton went to visit Carter and asked him to please get rid of, move him somewhere else. And Carter said, no, I'm not going to do that. I did it fair and square. I picked a Republican and a Democrat and I split them up. From then on, the two of them have hated each other. Absolutely hated each other.
Well, Mayor, maybe you want to hear...
I got in the middle of once when I was considering running against Hillary Clinton that someday I'll tell you about. But this is when Castro, when Carter said, send me I'll take anyone from Cuba. Like Adams, send me your tired. That's why New York has gotten the biggest hit, because Adams made us uber sanctuary city. We're going to be best. We're going to be the best sanctuary city. If you're going to break the law, we're going to really do it. We're going to really break the law. We're going to give you credit cards, and we're going to give you college scholarships, and we're going to give you accommodations better than our veterans. Trump is absolutely right about that. Biden, you lying scum. He's absolutely right about that. I can show you 2 places where veterans were thrown out and those criminals were allowed in. And we're not talking about immigrants like I used to deal with back then, except for the Marielitos. And these are not Mexican workers coming over to work. Why do you think so many are from Venezuela? Because Maduro is emptying out his jails like his hero Castro did.
That's right.
What do we need to prove it? So as this debate is going on, it gets and they cover it up. They cover it up. All these Democratic places cover it up. They cover up the fact that the criminal is a migrant. I'll give you another one. They were going to cover up Lake and Riley. They described the guy as from Athens, an Athens man. Yeah, an Athens man by way of what? El Salvador or Nicaragua? How about this one? This is a rape that took place on May 14th. A guy named Sakir Akan, 21, who is an illegal, who came in from Turkey just about 6-7 months before. On May 14th, he chased after this girl, and he grabbed her, he pummeled her, he pushed her in the back, he threatened her with a metal pole, pushed her in a car, took off her clothes, and raped her. He was finally arrested on June 18th. And he was charged with first-degree rape. And then he was arrested. He was arrested and he was arraigned on those charges. Now, he originally came in on November 5th of 2023, where he in San Diego, where he was released on his own recognizance, I'm sure with no vetting, due to lack of bed space. How about we provide the bed space? That's what we did. All you got to do is build it, jackass. Killer. And he was ordered to appear in a Philadelphia court This is in November of 2023. In February of 2025. Now, what is that? That's letting him in illegally. You're gonna give him a court appearance a year and a half later? Some of them are 2 and 3 years later. It's a joke. He's making a fool out of you. Trump never did that. Obama never did that. So this animal had a chance to, go all around the country. He ended up in, eventually, he ended up in Albany, New York, and he found this young girl who lived in a group home, and he must have been casing the group home to find somebody appropriate to rape, and then he grabbed her, pummeled her, hit her in the back, threatened her with a metal pole, pushed her in the car, and raped her. The teen was no, let's not go into the details of that. So his name is, we put him on our list now of Biden invitees who committed rape. That's Zakir Khan. Under any other president, the man would have been in detention. Or certainly under, I can't say any other president. I don't know what Clinton or Obama would do. I know what Reagan would do. I know what Trump did. I helped to build the detention centers, get them built on time so that these animals could be in detention centers, not raping your children. That's what a president is supposed to do. He's supposed to stop these people and not get angry because Trump calls them animals. The people he was talking about when he called them animals was when I first started to really sympathize with him and support him. People who used to cut the heads of children off. Well, maybe if you call them animals, you jackasses won't release them for a year and a half and get us killed. They're not the migrants of 20 years ago. And don't tell me they don't commit more crimes than Americans. That was true 20 or 30 years ago when I was a U.S. attorney. I can give you those statistics chapter and verse. These are different people. They're controlled by the cartels. Look at the murders they're committing. How many are we going to have before we throw this jackass out? How many more girls are going to get raped? We're going to have this functional moron in the White House. The Democrat Party may remove him, but we're going to keep him with a button. They're coming in. He's not reducing the number coming in by any meaningful amount. First couple of weeks of his new program, they've averaged just on the southern border 3,200 a day. We're going to be at 2 million for the year. Trump last year, 400,000, and it was going down. This is Mr. Zakir, in case you ever run into him. Who knows? They might let him out.
Yeah, some of them are getting bonds.
What?
I mean, they're getting high bonds, but they're getting. I guess they're getting bonds, and in some cases they can.
Well,
take away the ability to.
He isn't in New York. He isn't the most criminal-friendly justice system in America,
Maybe
which is New York
now, right? Like where
the Cuomo adjusted no. We're not going to hold anybody. Basically, everybody can go out without bail. If you're 17 or 16 and you chop somebody's head off, you get treated as a juvenile. You have to have discovery in 2 weeks so we can let the criminals go free, unless you're Donald Trump, and then you never get discovery.
Do you think some of these migrants who were in prison, for example, in Venezuela, they cross that border, and it's like they're almost in like a free for all? like open season to do what you want.
Well, imagine when you get before the judge and he says, "Okay, come back a year and a half from now,"
and then they let you out.
And they give you money to go to New York, and then you show up in New York, and Adams gives you a credit card,
and you're in New York City, and
you're a goddamn rapist. You're a rapist who's being funded by Mayor Adams,
and all of a sudden you got a hotel room at the Roosevelt Hotel on 41st Street or wherever.
I mean, this is happening all over the country. This I believe happened in Albany, New York, right? We know that yesterday was the funeral, the day of the debate. I mean, you'd think. I actually thought Trump was going to ask him the name of the young lady who was killed in Texas. I bet he wouldn't have known. Jocelyn Nungari. It was her funeral yesterday, and then Jocelyn was only 12. And she was killed. She was killed by two people, two illegals. Here, I'll show you some of the pictures of the funeral. It's actually quite beautiful. They did a very good job. Can you see that, Ted?
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Yeah, they put her hearse on a horse-drawn carriage in Texas.
Well, that's the hearse from the.
They were carrying her body. And they have a white, and I think this is probably her mom next to the casket right here. Her mom, of course, was very, very critical of Biden and his big surrogate liar, Mayorkas, who have been telling us for 3 years that the border is secure. And this is her here. Just so we know who we're dealing with, a human being. Not that Biden would care. Never mentioned her. If Biden hadn't opened the borders, she would be alive today. If he hadn't said in 2020 when he was running for president, surge to the borders, if he hadn't gotten away, if he hadn't changed the remain in Mexico policy, if he hadn't changed the catch and release in Mexico policy, not in the United States, catch and detain in the United States. If he hadn't changed all that, this young lady would be alive. So would Rachel Marin. I bet he doesn't know who that is either. She's the young lady. She's the young woman, or she's a little older. She was 37, 5 children. Killed by another illegal who came in the country 4 times illegally. One time totally undetected. We have no idea how many such people come in totally undetected. We know the number of people who come in, like the one we just talked about, and he was given a year and a half to show up in court, enough time to just rape every day if you want. But we don't know how many come in that we never see. There was a good analysis done. I don't remember exactly where I read it. I clipped it out. I'll try to get it for next week. But a good analysis done of the number that don't get detected at all, and why they're so valuable, because the cartels sell those for big numbers, as much as 100,000, I'm sorry. So remember, you got an open border, right? Now, I want you to think about the world in a way that Biden wouldn't be capable of doing, even when he had a brain. As Gates tells you, right? Biden never made a correct decision about foreign policy. We corruptly elected him because they were so desperate to beat Trump for really sick reasons. But I worked with Trump on the 1994 crime bill. I'm going to tell you, he is not capable of the analysis I'm about to give you. What happened even then is we'd go off into blah, 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 or he'd tell some stupid joke when he got distracted. So the reality is that the cartels have now taken control of the border. Just think about this. I wish I had my map with me. Trump had worked it out with Remain in Mexico that we actually had created a buffer zone around the border on their side where we could keep people. And they allowed our people to come over. And they would stay in Mexico, and they would be processed in Mexico. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is not unique. This was done in 1981 and 82 during the Reagan administration. And it was done right outside of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Coast Guard cutters were put there, and the people that were trying to come in illegally were detained, processed there, not allowed to come across and die, because many of them did on rickety boats. And that's how we ended it. So what Trump did, of course, was a bigger scale, first of all. It was working beautifully. It created that 60% reduction, or concomitantly a 60% increase immediately when Biden changed it. There was no reason in the world to change it, except, honestly, they say, well, he wanted to change it. No. The Democrat Party for quite some time has wanted an open border. We can go back 10 years and listen to them arguing for an open border. And that's pure Marxism. I mean, that's part of the Soros destroy American, the American nationality. Nationalism is a terrible thing. And let's destroy it. But that's what Marx wants you to do in order to create loyalty to communism, to a one world government, which would be Soros and Obama and Klaus Schwab.
Hey, Klaus, it's your favorite.
Klaus Schwab?
Yeah.
So the Democratic District Attorney of Harris County, whose name is Kim Ogg, said about the two people who were involved in the killing of Jocelyn Nungare, they should have never been released when they crossed over into El Paso. You're damn right they never should have been released, Kim. You're damn right. And they wouldn't have been if we had a president who cared about the United States and cared about our people. Or we had a political party that had a few patriots in it that would get rid of this bum.
Right.
But we have a broken system, and Jocelyn's death resulted, and it's just hard when you know something could have been prevented, like a child's death. And who could have prevented it? The moron who was on the stage last night could have prevented it. That's what happens when you elect a crooked, stupid, dishonest, immoral, amoral Johan Jose Martinez Rangel and Franklin Jose Peña Ramos are the two charged with murder. One, I believe, Ramos is testifying, it sounds like. And he says that Martinez Rangel did the rape. That they raped her for 2 hours. Now he claims, Ramos claims that he didn't participate in it. That Rangel or Martinez Rangel asked him to, and he didn't. It's a little hard to understand what happened during that 2 hours if he didn't participate in it. That's a lot of time.
Should we play?
You can tell I was a prosecutor, huh?
Yeah.
So
Take a break?
it sounds like this guy, Kim Ogg, may not be, I'll have to check, may not be a Soros plant.
That's Houston, right?
Yeah, they had a Soros guy there, and I think they threw him out.
Threw him out? Maybe I'll look into that. I think
They had a terrible mayor there, and they threw the mayor out,
I
too.
remember that. Take a break.
With a beautiful, I just should say one last thought on this. A secretary at the school talking about Jocelyn said she was a very fine, sweet young girl. She was a hardworking student. She cared a lot about her studies. She seemed to be, those who knew her said she was very energetic. When you'd see her, she made others laugh. She always spoke. She was just a happy girl. This has not motivated Biden to change a single damn thing. Nor has he thought it might be helpful if he gave them a call and told them that he was going to change things in light of what happened. You know, like we have these laws, Jocelyn's law, or, I mean, even though it doesn't bring Jocelyn back, it's comforting to a person who has a loss like this, like her mom. And if you're a parent, you know this is the nightmare you live with, right? But to say that her daughter's death meant something and the president was going to change things as a result of it, gee, that's what a nice person would do, a constructive person, a decent person, a person who wasn't for 35 years a perverted criminal. And remember, I got to remind you every night, because nobody else tells you this, there is no question that that there's evidence that Joe Biden received enormous amounts of money for the sale of his influence. So you say, well, what is that evidence, Giuliani? Well, that evidence comes from Hunter Biden. About as authoritative as you can get. And not only is it evidence, but it's in writing. And it's in a text message to his daughter. And it says that for 30 years, Hunter gave half his salary to his father. How come you don't hear about that?
Right? Hey, Rick.
We're going to take a short break and kind of work our way through this labyrinth of corruption that we live in, huh? Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. And just want to cover a couple of things that we don't miss, considering the fact the weekend is coming up. And you know that I like to make sure you hear these things that you might otherwise not hear. For example, that Albany case that I was telling you about, the rape murder of the Biden invitee who committed that rape and murder, that was not disclosed for 2 months. Not disclosed for 2 months. And then when it was disclosed, it wasn't disclosed that it was a migrant. Do you know how many of those there are that we discover? I gave you a list of about 4 or 5 the other day. I could do. We'll try to put it together like in a chart so we can get through it. This is an epidemic, and I've been telling you that for months, and nobody's been listening to me. But now they're starting to come out. I think the Laken-Riley thing opened the floodgates, and then which they tried to cover up by calling him an Athens man, and then. Then we got 3 or 4. It's hard to say which is the next one, but we got 3 or 4 others now, including Rachel Marin, where we had a mother of 5. Most of them are children. I mean, in Rachel's case, it was a woman. It really doesn't matter, but I guess it gives you an idea of when Trump says he's emptying out the insane asylums and the nut houses. He's right. Gosh almighty, I can testify to it. I can tell you exactly how it's happening. This is accepted law within communist circles. This was one of Castro's great accomplishments on Carter. Carter said, you can send all the Cubans in, and he said, you want the Cubans, Carter? You big jackass? Okay. I got regular criminals, I got really bad criminals, I got criminally insane, and I got the nut jobs who in 2 seconds will chop your head off. I'm giving you all of them. Look, you can't bring up anything. I was hoping that the president would bring up the fact that for some reason Biden is getting great credit in Venezuela for reducing crime there. I think it's down 65%. Due to our taking their criminals and putting them in New York and in Albany and in North Carolina and in Maryland and in Dallas, Texas and in Iowa and Utah. And nobody gets vetted. How they didn't impeach Mayorkas, what a fix. Man's almost like a murderer. Now, let's just get a couple of these lies out of the way. We've already created 15 million new jobs, a record. Like Kelly's committed, he's created 15 million new jobs. He's created 6.2 million. That's it. The rest of them are jobs that were there, and they were suspended for the pandemic. And any jackass would have gotten those back. And what he's done, however, is he's made sure they're making less money in real dollars, because inflation is an accumulation of his 4 years. He likes to say inflation is down. Inflation is down from the record that he set of 9%, but that's built into the prices. So inflation right now is 30 to 35% higher than when Trump left office. All you got to do is just go buy your groceries and you can figure it out. Go buy gas. It's up 30, 40%. Don't let this guy con you. If this guy cons you, you're really stupid, because he's really stupid. The one thing to be conned by a smart guy, it's another thing to be conned by a jackass like this who lies and says, inflation was 9% when I came into office. No, it wasn't. It was 1.6% when you came into office. You made it 9% a year and a half later by spending, as John McCain would say, like a drunken sailor or like a perverted old creep like you are. President Biden has done a lot to lower prices. This was said by Adrian Elrod, who's a spokesman, one of the group of liars for Biden. But Elrod can't name a single thing cheaper today than when Biden took office. Meat's up 30%, eggs 40%, gasoline 50%. Americans have lost an average of 3.9 in inflation-adjusted income. We can't find anything that he lowered. This is what's killing him, because you can't lie. You can't lie. You can't lie to the American who's got to go to the grocery store and buy their food or their gas or a home. Joe Contra says, simply put, the first presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump was an absolute blowout for the challenger. Biden weak, Trump strong. We're just going through these. By the way, you should know that Schiff and Dan Goldman are complaining that the White House is covering up the Hamas rapes in Israel in the report they're giving of rapes that took place last year in violation of international law. They're leaving out the rapes of the Jewish women. The Biden administration is doing that. They're asking for sanctions against atrocities against women in Ukraine, the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Haiti, Iraq, South Sudan, and Syria, but not Israel, because the lives and health and safety of Jewish women don't mean a damn thing to Joe Biden, because he needs those votes in Michigan. He's sacrificing the entire Israeli country for those damn votes in Michigan. And isn't that the same thing that he does with his granddaughter, Navy? Why doesn't he recognize Navy? Because he doesn't want it to hurt his political career. So yeah, they recognized her now because they were forced to, but they never met her. He's never met his granddaughter. And neither has the first stepmother, who deliberately went out and put out 6 stockings a few years ago and left Navy's out. And then last year at Christmas, she didn't put out any stockings. And although he was forced, like the arm being twisted, to recognize, yes, I have a granddaughter in the Navy. Grandpa's never met his granddaughter. What a piece of... New York City is going to try to put back its masking laws that where you can't go around having demonstrations and have masks on. You should know the last person who used that law was me when the Ku Klux Klan came to New York in 1999, 2000. And I said, you can't wear your mask, jerkos. They came, very few of them. There were more demonstrators against them than for them, and we had to protect them, actually. But then they wanted like a whole day to protest. And I said, you're not going to get any. And they got 4 hours, and the New York Times, of course, said I lost. The same thing they did with the Million Man March. Million Man March wanted about 2 miles of Harlem and about 2 days. I gave them 4 hours and 5 blocks, and I lost. It was my tactic. That's why I had no riots. From the day I came into office, the next riot in New York was the next time you had a Democratic mayor. Tell you something? They shouldn't be running cities. It should be against the law, at least for a while. So what else do we have that we can show people?
So let's play. These are.
Let's
close out here with the.
Let's see how loyal they are to Joe, who had a bad night. Good old Joe, who they love. We love Joe. How you could love Joe, I can't figure out, but we love Joe.
Here we go. Here's more.
About Mike Barnacle, democracy. And again, I'm not saying that everything happens today and maybe we wait a week. I'm just saying personal feelings, personal admiration, love, respect, honor, all the things I talked about in my feelings about Joe Biden, Jill Biden, and their family that Mika and her family have felt about Joe Biden for 50 years, that I felt for as long as I've known him, that you felt about Joe Biden, that cannot play a role in any of this. This is a battle for the future of American democracy. And now is a good time. In June, thank God, in June, and not October, in June, this is the last chance for Democrats to decide whether this man we've known and loved for a very long time is up to the task of running for president of the United States.
I mean, this has just been obvious for 4 years, 5 years.
Dopes.
This guy attacks everybody that would point out that Biden was demented. You know, when he fell down walking up the steps. Who the hell falls down walking up steps? When he walks this way, that way, this way, that way. When he trips in front of the cadets. When he thinks he's talking to his father and his uncle 5 and 7 years after they're dead. When he tells us, the demented pig, that he likes children playing with how can you love a guy that likes children playing with the hair on his legs? What are you, screwed up too? You love this guy? The guy blew out of the 1988 presidential race as a lying scumbag.
It's amazing.
And you love him. What do you love about him? And you're sure, but man, you gave him one debate. That was it. Goodbye, Joe. Boom, right in the bag.
Let's hear from another.
Oh, these are really loyal people. Now let's listen to Van Jones. He
loves him, right?
Oh, Van Jones really loves him because he wants to get rid of him now.
Yeah. Is this what you would do to someone you love in front of 100 million?
Yeah, let's love him. Let's maximum public pressure on him because we love
live television.
Instead of going to see him quietly like Goldwater did, who was a gentleman. He was Joe. Goldwater, unlike you, was a man. He was a man. I don't know what you are, but you don't fit that category, pal. Not for a long time.
So here's Van Jones, and remember as you watch this, he loves Joe. Yeah.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis, kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain for what we saw tonight.
With friends like that, who needs us, his enemies? You don't need us, Joe.
I love that you point out.
You don't need us. And
they all love him.
In case you decide to run, you think we're going to lose that tape? You're going to see that thing in October, pal. You're going to see it right up until November. Walking in the booth, you're going to see it. When do they start early voting? We'll be playing that one starting with early voting. But maybe we'll hand it out to the people who go early voting. Your own people think you are too batso to be president. The reason they want you out is because you don't have a brain anymore. You want the American people to vote for a guy who doesn't have a brain anymore? Why don't we just talk special, just like straight out English? You're freaking nuts. You belong in like a hospital somewhere, except you've got this first stepmother. She ain't giving up. I don't know. Maybe she could make a deal with somebody and they'd let her stay. Anybody that doesn't have a wife or something, they'll keep her as the first whatever stepmother.
Oh, yeah, we got to get that. I mean,
Newsom is married, right?
I believe Newsom, is he? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's married because they had a great article about how Newsom and Pritzker are really just typical fascist, communist type leaders, which is they expect you to have nothing, but they can have everything. Of course, they did that during the pandemic. So did your governor. Yeah. But here's the one that they really do. They have both of their kids in, $60,000 to $70,000 a year private schools.
Right.
But they won't approve any kind of charter schools or
for others
scholarships or vouchers for poor kids. So your kid has got to get a horrible education. The rates in both places are horrendous. So Newsom's kid is going to grow up in a state in which 2/3 of the kids that go to public school can't read properly or do math. 2/3. And in Chicago and Illinois, it's worse under Fatso Pritzker. Meanwhile, their kids are getting a great education.
Well, should we hear from the stepmother-in-chief? We've got a few videos here. How about we play the notice the two men leaving the debate stage. This is a good contrast.
Do you think requiring him to run like she's doing is elder abuse?
Oh my gosh. All right. You know what? We're going to skip this. We come back to that.
Guy, when you see him there going like this.
Look at this. Here's Jill congratulating Joe as if he's a fifth grader.
Great job. You answered every question. You knew all the... And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied! Yes. Joe, you...
A lot of class, doesn't she? A lot of class, babes. Tell you,
doesn't she?
You really are Nurse Cratchit. I'll tell you. You sure you were a Nurse Cratchit and not a teacher?
Can we watch that one more time and watch Joe's face?
You think Joe might be in worse shape because she takes care of him?
Oh, you know what? That's a fair question. And
I mean, she started yelling that lie stuff. I mean, you got a guy that's delicate like Joe. She starts yelling that lie stuff like that with that voice.
I haven't
really tough.
But that goes back to what we were saying about elder abuse. Is she putting him up to this? Is she the reason?
Well, I don't think he has the proper mind to figure out whether he. I mean, I think if you told him not, he looks to me like tell him not to run, he won't run.
Well, let me ask you some legal questions. So let's say you have an elderly couple. They're not president. They're just an elderly couple with a family and some assets. And the man, we'll say that
some assets. You mean millions and millions from China, Russia, Ukraine, from by the way, from our worst enemies.
But I'm talking. Talking about this is a different. This is a different family.
This is a family that are not traitors to the United States. Okay.
The man of the family. He
earned his money legitimately, like he worked, unlike Joe.
And unfortunately,
or Hunter.
Yes, and unfortunately,
I mean, actually, Joe's income, as we know, came from Hunter. Hunter gave half his income for 30 years to Joe. Please remember that. It's in writing. They don't want you to know that, but please know it before you vote. Please.
If the old man in the family turns 80, starts losing his mind, unfortunately, dementia, it happens. Who takes over the estate? Is it the wife? And is that but it has to be written somewhere that it's the what? No. So someone loses.
Wait. Depends on the state.
Something could be.
So you can't, in most states, you cannot disinherit your wife completely. I know it in New York. In New York, your wife is entitled to half your estate or a third of your estate, depending on how many children you have.
Okay.
Or whether you have children or not. So you can't disinherit you can write a will and say, I hate my wife and I want to give it all to my two children. sorry, I think a third of it's going to go to your wife anyway.
Yeah.
And a third to one kid and a third to the other kid. And they get into terrible battles over that. You're not allowed to disinherit your wife. The minute you divorce from her, you can do anything you want.
Sure. So that's
and the reason that's a little bit outdated now is you have these long periods of divorce, separation and divorce, where the litigation goes on for 2 to 3 years. There's a heck of a motive for one to kill the other during that period of time, because the minute so let's say it's a wife getting divorced from a very rich guy, right?
Yeah.
Until that guy gets his divorce, she's getting half or 1/3 of his estate, no matter what the guy wants, no matter what he says, no matter how mean she was to him, no matter how terrible she was.
Yeah.
And the minute the divorce takes place, it's over. So she'll do everything she can to delay the divorce.
Oh, yes.
I mean, she's sitting there. Let's say the guy's worth $100 million. She's sitting there with 30 to 50 million coming to her. And the day she's divorced,
why? What do you mean?
Because you have no right after your divorce. She doesn't have a right to get half the property.
Oh, so you're saying they just stay together?
Let's say he wrote a will.
Yeah.
He said in the will, she's a creep. She used to beat me up. I can't stand her.
Yeah.
I'm giving all my $100 million to my 2 kids.
Yeah.
But they're still married.
Yeah.
And they're getting divorced.
Yeah.
She still gets 1/3.
Okay.
No matter what.
Makes sense.
Minute you're divorced, she only gets whatever she gets in the divorce decree.
In the agreement.
Right. Could be nothing.
Interesting. Yeah. So
particularly if she's a elder abuser.
So going back,
and that happens a lot. Believe me, you have no idea how much of that crap goes on. It's hard to believe because you're a good person. You don't think anybody's going to harm elderly people. Elderly people are probably one of the biggest.
With
victims.
phone scams.
Oh,
and
one
emails.
of the biggest victims. Unbelievable.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad that people can do that, and you're right. But Mayor, going back to this hypothetical or this, I'm trying to get down to the issue here. But let's say Biden is, and there's a chance is it non-compass menace? There's a chance that he's almost completely gone, right? I mean, he's not completely gone, but he's getting there, and it could happen. If he's the sitting president, who, I guess, is it power of attorney? At what point? If he's unable to say, I'm going to bow out. I'll drop off.
Suppose the ultimate happens like, this will eventually happen to Joe Biden if he doesn't die before. He will eventually lose it all and not know who he is.
Yes.
That's what happens. That is the end result of dementia. And Dr. Maria believes his is vascular dementia, but whatever form of dementia. And by the way, Alzheimer's is a subcategory of dementia. So end result, many people die before it happens. A good friend of mine did, before he lost it completely. But he was on his way to losing it completely. Losing it completely means, it could mean different things for different people, but largely it means he almost can't talk anymore. And he can't remember anything. Maybe he can go in and out a little bit, but he'd be unable to even do that performance at a debate. He'd just get up and go, so let's say that happens to him, right?
Yeah.
People believe that happened to President Wilson. And his wife, Edith, covered it up with Colonel House, was it? And they sort of ran the country for a while. Not a good solution. Right now, he can at least,
all right.
He doesn't make a lot of sense, but he can still talk.
Yeah.
So he's not that bad. But I don't know, and I can't get any doctor that really is willing to go, even privately on record, and say to me, well, is he a week away? Is he a month away? Is he 5 months away? Is he a year away? Some of them will say, yeah, there's still time. Others will say it could happen anytime. So I think after watching last night, there are going to be a lot of people in that it could happen anytime category. Because he had a couple of really lollapaloozas last night. And I'm telling you, it was more the face than actually the discussion. Because he had a lot of stuff probably it was like rote. He was remember how when he was talking so fast?
Yeah.
And then he'd forget. But when he wasn't keeping himself occupied, just repeating whatever the hell he had memorized for a week.
Yeah.
He looked like he didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if you had interrupted one of those little flights of fancy and said, Joe, where are you? He's, But what I just did there, that'll eventually happen. And this is where they're taking a tremendous risk. And I think they finally got hit over the head with it. They're always taking this risk. I would never have taken it.
Never.
For my political party. I would never have taken given the condition he was in back in 2020, in no way would I have, even a friend of mine, would I have let him run in 2024 for the good of the country.
Did he have a teleprompter during the State of the Union in January or February?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
He did have a teleprompter?
Yeah, completely.
So you the people
remember the one he read where it said something like repeat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's clearly, I mean, anyone that saw him, that were close to him and saw him like this, they never should have put him out like this. I never debated, right?
We actually learned even more. What we learned is he can manage a teleprompter as long as he's angry. That probably keeps him concentrating. In other words, I don't think he could give a modulated speech. I don't think he could. Let me just read this here. Bookworms are turning the page with this news. Controversial funding cuts to New York City's public library system will be restored. Mayor Adams announced Thursday, likely allowing branches to reopen on Sundays. I don't think he could do that. He could do this. Bookworms are turning the page with the news. Controversial funding cuts to New York City. There's a reason he never talked like that before. That keeps him engaged. Emotionally, it keeps his brain engaged. He's got to be angry in order to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you see what happens to him. He loses his place.
Oh, yeah.
He loses his place. Even that doesn't work. So this is going down. Okay. The next time he appears in September, who knows how much worse it'll be. I don't think he's showing up for another debate. I really don't.
I don't see how he can. I just don't see how it is.
But I don't think they have the guts to get him out or the power to get him out. I don't know who gets him out.
Well, so these delegates, Obama.
If Obama said, but I don't know if Obama would do this. If Obama said to him, look, Joe, and you could put this on a very high plane. Not that Obama cares about America. My God, it's the last thing he cares about. Well, he certainly wouldn't give all that money to the Ayatollah if he cared about America or American lives. But he could pretend he did. And he could say, Joe, I mean, this is about the country. I love you, like Van Jones does, and like Scarborough does. I think anybody that comes to him and tells him he loves him, he's in bad shape, right? They're going to cut his backside off, right? Joe, I really love you. But for the good of the country, you got to step down. And and there's nobody in this country that wants to defeat Trump more than you do, right, Joe? Well, right now it just turned because of that debate. You are the worst candidate. You assure a loss with Newsom or Whitmer or Kamala or I don't know who else, Pritzker, or make up a name. We have at least a chance. We got a fighting chance. We can put somebody new against somebody old. Maybe people are tired of them. I'm not saying, we got it locked, but we know we're going to lose with you. Because you're not going to survive that debate. Even if you do a better debate next time, they'll replay that one and say you're always capable of that. And how can we trust America to a guy who can't complete a thought? And what are the chances you are going to do better? What are you going to prepare for 5 weeks for that one? So I don't know. Maybe Obama could get him out. I think that'd be the only one. There's nobody else. Because if Obama were to say, I'm going to oppose you, pal, then he's got to go, right? Yeah. I mean, if Obama would have said, I'm going to go in front of the convention and say they should nominate you for the good of the country. I have to. That's my duty. I mean, that's what I would do. If this were a nominee of our party and I knew he was unfit to be president, I would say, I'll come out against you. But, Obama's as big a liar and scoundrel, if not more, than Biden. But on the other hand, he doesn't want Trump to become president. There's a lot of skeletons in his closet, maybe even more than Biden. We don't know about. He wouldn't have allowed all this if you were an honest man. I mean, it was obvious what what Biden was doing. Only, liars like the New York Times and cover it up. But from 2015 on, it was obvious what Biden was doing to any president who gave a damn about integrity. They would have stopped him or thrown him out. The minute they found out that his son was working for one of the biggest organized criminals in Ukraine, a country where we had such interest that we give them $200 billion. And we let them take bribes and ruin any attempt we have to deal with the corruption in Ukraine. No way if you're an honest president. Well, we're going to see this weekend is going to be filled with discussion of all this. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen in the Democrat Party. They're going to have to make a decision quickly if they've got the courage, right, to make a change. It sounds like it sounds like the sycophants that surround them, the chorus of they get the talking points in the morning and then they all say debunked or quid pro quo, or that group wants them gone. I don't know where the internal people are, Ted. Like, where are the members of Congress who are worried about their seats? They haven't really started to speak up yet. That would be the killer.
That's the killer.
If but
they'll stick together, Mayor. Like we talked about earlier, they're ready to do it, right? I'm sure they are.
I don't know.
They don't have anybody as an alternative.
They don't have much leadership. I mean, that jerk from New York, who's the
Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is a complete.
Can you imagine him being your leader? I can see why people don't run for Congress.
He didn't even know what to say. I mean, we're going to stick with the president.
But Mayor, you're right. They don't have. It does seem like these Senate candidates on the Democrat side are not going to be happy with.
You know who might be able to deal with it? I'll give you. Guess who?
On the Democrat side?
Just think on the Democratic side. Put aside your hatreds, your anger, your disdain,
bias.
Who? I know.
House or Senate?
I'm not going to help you.
Who on the Democrat side? I mean, Joe Manchin's, is he out now or he's leaving?
Nobody respects Joe Manchin. No, he's too much of a goes one way, goes another way.
But you're asking a good question. Nowadays,
there is somebody that can do it.
2024.
You're not thinking.
I'm not thinking of a single Democrat
There's one person that could do it and might do it.
Really?
Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, you got it. You still think she holds the same power?
Well, number one, I think she's got the courage to do it. I mean, she's tough. She's tougher than all the men. She's tougher than Obama's. Not really tough.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
Obama's a pampered guy. The Manchurian candidate for sure.
What about the squad members? What about they all hate all the Genocide Joe stuff.
Yeah, but nobody listens.
Why aren't they going after him now?
Well,
we should see what they're saying.
They may, but they
nobody cares. No one's gonna. It's not effective, right?
Yeah, but they care about her, and he does too.
Who's her?
Meaning Pelosi.
Oh, they care. If she were to say so, yeah. She's probably, all these new members over the last 20 years, yeah, I bet you she's racked up a lot of goodwill with their membership.
And she has got to be thinking about the possibility of a real If this continues to go south,
yep,
they could have a Watergate kind of wipeout that they're not going to recover from for 10 years.
That's right. And again, a lot of these folks, it's more about not letting Trump back in, right? More but they about keeping Biden. They can't have Trump back.
That's a little. She's smart enough to overcome that. She's smart enough to realize that in an attempt to stop Trump, they may lose the House and Senate for 10 years. And they may still not stop Trump. Right?
Yeah.
And that
if you don't remove Joe.
If you don't remove Joe, he could be such a stain on the rest of the ticket. Like, if he keeps acting like that. Now, right now, he was already at a point where everything he did wrong was getting focused on, right? Now he's lost his own people. And we were putting it out, but it wouldn't always get on. But now that Scarborough and all these people want him gone, when he does the trips and the peeing in his pants and defecating, and they're going to use it to try to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So he's in a different place right now.
This is fascinating.
Weeks is very sensitive because they've been covering for him.
This exposed a lot of people.
They've been covering for him. If the American people ever find out what really is going on in the White House, and they probably can get it, the Dems can get it, and the Dems think of it. If they ever find out what's really going on in the White House, how about all those dogs that are eating up the Secret Service? What the hell is that all about?
You're right. It actually does shed a new light on
22 attacks in a year and a half by dogs.
Who's running the show in there? And Joe Biden's literally
22 attacks in a year and a half in the White House.
They need to have hearings on this. When Joe Biden, who walks him downstairs in the Oval Office?
Marijuana or the cocaine, the only cocaine ever found, or are they covering up others? Of course they're covering up others.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If Hunter gets out,
is Hunter clean? Like hell, he's clean. He hasn't been clean for more than 3 months his whole life.
And if they had any respect for the office, they wouldn't let Hunter in the White House.
Well, they never would have let him near the Chinese documents, which they did, for which Joe is getting away.
Wow, Mayor, this is going to be, hey, these next 5 months, and we're going to be, we need people to tune in here every night.
Let's watch her reaction, because that would give Obama the balls to do it. Because I don't think Obama has balls. This is the guy who set, 12 red lines to chemical weapons. And, every time it happened, he found an excuse not to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's not the guy that I think can sit down one-on-one with Joe and say, out.
Yeah.
I think she is. Whatever you think of her, she's one tough cookie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right about that.
No, she's a tough cookie. I mean, and she's been beaten and she's won. Remember, we knocked her out in 2010. She was the cause of the demise of her party in 2010. And then she came back and won.
Yeah, 2-time speaker.
I mean, she knows both sides of it.
And that's tough to do, right, as a speaker to come back a second time.
She knows both sides of it.
I'll give her that. But how about picking Kamala Harris as a VP? What a great for Joe, if he wants to stay, right? What a great move. Can you imagine being Kamala Harris today, Mayor? Everyone's saying Biden's got to go, but no one's saying Kamala, we have a great VP. Isn't that amazing?
It's also very funny. It also is very, very hard and becomes a very good political issue for us.
Yeah.
If you remove him as a candidate, but not as a president.
Yeah, you brought that up last night.
And you say he's not good enough for the Democratic Party, but he's good enough for the country.
Wow. They're in quite the pickle.
Yeah, no matter what they do.
Because you're right. They can't renominate. They're going to renominate someone else, but Joe's going to stay in office till January 20th.
And it looks to me, the way Trump handled the debate last night, that his team has thought all of this out. I think they got most of these things covered.
Do you think it would be effective, and this is kind of inside baseball, Mayor, but having an outside effort, not connected directly to the President Trump's campaign, is it time for someone to start raising the questions, the 25th Amendment, maybe an outside group, and pointing out that this man, because this is what they did to Trump, right, with no evidence, has his hand on the button. This man has the ability to blow up the world 100 times over. At what point does it become an actual concern? We don't play the game that the Democrats do, right? They do this every.
It has been. I think it has been for 2 years.
But like a sober, very like serious conversation about national security.
I think our own people have been derelict in their duty in not making this a major issue for the last 2 years.
Starting Monday, I want to see hearings.
When he would say things like, "Look for the congresswoman who was dead."
Yeah.
Where the hell were our people saying? What the hell are you doing in the White House?
Yeah. The prison,
when he gets the president of Colombia and Cambodia confused.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, this is the country. This isn't just politics.
Yeah.
The amendment says, is he able to fulfill the duties? He's not. He can't fulfill the duties of president.
Clearly not.
He can't walk off the stage without his wife.
Maybe our members of Congress will grow a spine. Can you imagine what the Democrats would have been doing today if we had a nominee trot out like that? They'd have hearings. They'd want, especially he's a sitting president, right? He's not a candidate. This is the man sitting in the White House. This is the president of the United States.
Yeah, and they would also say, the hell with this. It's too close to the election. You could destroy the country the day before the election.
Yeah. And who's really running the show? These are real questions. So, well, plenty of time to talk about this, Mayor. What a great 2.5-hour show tonight. We could keep going.
We're going to have to get a couple of the congressional members on if they have the guts to come on and see if we can push them.
Next week, we're getting them.
Yeah, because what you saw last night has been going on for at least 2 years. I think even longer. And I will say, I've been telling you that for 2 years. I told it to you almost 4 years ago. We're going to play that. We're going to get that out tonight. Play it next week. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us, those of you who did. And we'll be back with our new show on Monday. We'll be on at 7. Remember, how do we do it, Ted? Explain to the ladies and gentlemen how they do this.
Look,
get on Frank Speech.
Yeah, get that Frank Speech app. This is brand new program. The mayor, through Mike Lindell's Frank Speech app.
I have an iPhone. Okay. So some people, you have a...
Go to your Apple store. I have a Google. I have a Android. So I go to the Google Play Store.
So I go to the App Store.
Apple Store. Wherever you get your apps today, that's where you'll go. If you're on Roku, search for apps. Frank Speech.
I just went to App Store. Now I'm on App Store.
Search Frank.
Go to search. Right?
Yep.
I go to search, and what do I put in?
Frank Speech, all one word.
Capitals or not capitals? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
So I just put in Frank, Frank, and then right into it, speech.
Yep.
There it is. Came up right up here.
That's it.
Well, 2 come up. One says Frank Speech, and the second one says Frank Speech LLC. I guess it's Frank Speech.
I would go with Frank. Let me check mine, but I would go with Frank Speech.
There it is.
So before Monday, folks, so you can catch the mayor's first show.
So they have two. They always do this to me. They have 2, Ted.
I see one.
But one of them has more stars than the other. Oh, one is Frank Social. Sorry. There's only one Frank Speech.
All right.
And if I hit it, which I'm going to do right now, I hit open. I think I already have it. So I just reopened my so there it is. I got it right here. I just did it. Real simple. Go on your app store, or what do you call it in
Google Play Store.
In Android?
Google Play Store.
The Google Play Store. Just write straight out, no separation, lowercase, any Frank, Frank, speech, boom. It'll be the second one down, hit it. And you got it right there. And then on 7 o'clock on Monday, you just hit here, and you'll see me and Ted and the whole crew, and then
special guests.
And then you can go to X, and we'll continue on X. And also on Tuesday And Thursday at 9 o'clock, there'll be the Dr. Maria Show. And it could be terrific. She got a lot of plans to cover all kinds of things, very similar to what we do, but also, things where she has special expertise. So, thank you. We'll see you on Frank speech, singular, Frank speech. Or you could say Frank's speech on Monday at 7. Unless we decide to do some specials this weekend, which we might if things develop. We're going to keep our ear to the grindstone. And, sometimes they make a move like this, they do it quickly. Frankly, if they got to do it, I mean, the right politics would be to do this quickly, if you're going to do it, or get over it and move on. But if you're going to get rid of them, quick, boom. Okay. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of the United States. We are really going through something, huh? And God bless America.
Great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied! Yes.
Debate stage. Looks like Jill Biden, the First Lady, has come out. Former President Trump walking off the stage. The first debate of the 2024 campaign and the earliest presidential debate ever now in the books and in front of the voters. Tonight, along with Aaron Burnett, the first word on what those voters might make of it from our political professionals, from our CNN Flash Poll and Swing State Focus Group. We'll be talking to surrogates, including Vice President Harris, getting fact checks from our Daniel Dale and new reporting from inside both campaigns. With me here, CNN political commentator Scott Jennings, Kate Bedingfield, David Urban, Van Jones, Alyssa Farr Griffin, and Newsnight.
Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able